I think there's two different sides here all of a sudden, Charlie. And I think Larry McReynolds probably is the strongest with that side. And his side, if we've all heard, if you haven't heard it, Larry stated on XM, here we got Rick Hendrick, we got Roger Penske, smart businessmen outside of the world of racing. Richard Childress, Joe Gibbs, Jack Rouse, everybody agreed to do this. We've got a team that came in here, it's been here 4 years, and they're telling us that we've done it wrong for the last 70 years or whatever, okay? And Larry was like very, very adamant that he does not like it. How dare a team that's only 4 years old come into our sport and tell us we're doing it all wrong when we've got the mainstays here, right? That say this is okay, that this new charter deal is okay, we can live with it, and we're going to keep racing, and everybody's going to be happy. And then, of course, you got the other side saying, well, all these guys were forced. This charter is not what all these owners wanted. It was forced on them, and they got to go along with it, because if they don't sign it, then maybe their team goes non-existent any longer. Okay, there's your two sides, Charlie. That's the two sides of this thing. And again, it's like anything that happens, man. It comes down somewhere in the middle. I don't go along with 100% of what Larry said. Although I understand what Larry's saying, I totally understand that. But and then if you go in depth a little bit more about it, it's like, well, you know what? Maybe we need to be modernized more. Maybe we're not like the other major professional sports, right? We need to be more in line with those guys. I heard their lawyer speaking the other day, and he's talking about get this thing straightened out, and it's going to be for the betterment of the sport down the road. He said all the antitrust suits that this lawyer's been involved in, he's been involved in, when they won, the sport just became better. It became a lot better sport. I understand on the surface what he's saying. The problem with that is, Charlie, we're not like any other sport. Our business model is not an NFL franchise league type thing. It's not the MLB deal. We don't, it's not NBA. We don't have revenue sharing. All right. All these teams operate under that banner as part of that system. In NASCAR, we don't do that. We are independent contractors, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as such, that sets up a whole completely different business model. And so I think just for that lawyer to put a general blanket over it, say, yeah, we're a professional sport, and this is going to help it, and we're not like, we be in line with everybody. That's not true. How many professional sports, Charlie, in the last 5 years, 6, 7, 8 years that have the athletes' salaries come down? Right?
None. That's what Kyle Larson said.
NASCAR drivers' salaries have come down the last few years, right? And it's because of the financial deal, the economics, what it costs to run a race team, right? And so that argument goes over back to the other side. Well, yeah, look at there, that's wrong. Something's wrong with the model when the athlete's salaries come down. So we got to fix that. Well, it's also about preserving the race team, right? I mean, the race team lives off sponsorship money and now TV money. So I don't know. The teams all said the publicly anyhow, and the ones I talked to in Atlanta, they were. How can I told you this before. They were all happy that it was over with. Every one of them to a fault. No, we didn't get everything we wanted, but we got enough to make this work. NASCAR didn't get. They had to give up stuff they didn't want to give up, but they felt like they could make it work. There's more out there. There's more of that pie we get. This antitrust lawsuit is going to point that out, and that's what it comes down to. How much more of that pie, right, can NASCAR give to the teams? And then they're talking about other stuff, and I don't even know the particulars. We hear things about the particulars, what they are, but hell, I don't know that. I do know this. It's just a shame it had to happen. We're in the championship mode, man. We're doing all this, but now we've got to deal with this antitrust lawsuit stuff, and it's a shame. But you know what? The other side of it, Charlie,
It's interesting.
Like old Bill France used to say, man, yeah, it's bad publicity, but it's publicity. You know what I mean? So
hey,
I don't know.
Hey, I'm not even going to say I hate to say it. I hope this thing lasts the entire off season, and we talk
Well,
about
I'm
it
sure
every
it
single
will.
day.
I'm sure it will.
So I think there's an interesting side of this, though, from the other owners that didn't go along with 2311 and Front Row. And I'm basing this on some interviews I saw recently, and you can go back to the press conference from Rick Hendrick when they announced Kyle Larson doing the double. When he was asked about signing that agreement, I'm paraphrasing, but he said something like, I was just tired. Like, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm tired of
Yeah.
fighting it. I don't know if you saw the interview. I believe it was Bob Pockras the other day. He put it on X with Richard Childress. I mean, look, it sure sounds like all of these owners, to me, from what I've seen, it sounds like all of these owners, they might not say it, but they're happy that this lawsuit is going through. And there's been some anonymous quotes. Jordan Bianchi from The Athletic has said, look, I'm glad it's happening. I'm talking about other owners have told him, I didn't have the balls to do this, right?
Yeah.
I didn't have the balls to file this lawsuit. And Richard Childress in that interview, you can go back. I don't have the exact timeline, so I apologize. But he said something like they got that, DocuSign. You get the DocuSign. I do a little rental property stuff. So you get the DocuSign, you got to electronically sign it. I think he said they got it at like 6:47 p.m. or 5:47, whatever it was. And they had to sign by midnight. So whatever the number was, they got 5-6 hours for a 100-page document. That doesn't seem super fair to me. And again, I'm coming at this from a neutral spot. It sure seems like all of the owners are pissed at the current model. And even if they don't say it publicly, they're happy this lawsuit is being filed.
Yeah. You're exactly right. And again, it goes back to what I just said. The guys all told me they're just happy that it's over with. They could go on and make it work. It's good enough for them to make it work. Now, you dive deeper into it by 2311 in front row doing this, then that gives these guys like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, maybe we'll get a little more out of this. Maybe we'll get a little more out of this. Here it is, man. What they got, they were still able to operate. They felt like they were going to be able to operate and still go, right? And they've been worn down 2 years. They've been fighting this thing for two years, Charlie. Remember that? And they kept waiting on the chart or the TV package. Everybody said when the TV package hit, then we would get serious about this and make it happen, right? So the TV package hit, and they got serious negotiations, and NASCAR didn't move enough for 2311 front row. They just didn't move enough in the negotiations, so they just stalled it, and now they're suing them. The other drivers, the other team owners, you're probably right. They can get more out of it. They're going to get more out of it if they can. So again, I just think it's the timing of the distraction, man. It'd been needed if it had been wintertime once the championship's over. That's really the timing of it, because whatever happens is going to happen in court of law and all this stuff. Whatever goes on, it's going to happen. The 2311 front row, they're still going to be here. Whatever goes on, whoever gives what, we get to watch it in court. But I just wish it would have waited till they dropped the checkered flag after Phoenix or after the award ceremony anyhow. So anyhow, it's interesting.
I saw somebody, I think it was on X, or maybe it was on YouTube in a comment here. I can't remember exactly, but they basically said this is NASCAR's Curt Flood moment. And if people don't know, Curt Flood, St. Louis Cardinal back in the day, and he essentially lost his career. Great player. You could make the case he should be in the Hall of Fame, but he's the one that challenged free agency in baseball, and he suffered, but everybody after him benefited. Now, I don't think that Denny Hamlin and 2311 and Michael Jordan, I don't think they're going to suffer like Curt Flood did, right? I think they're going to be able to race. They're going to try to get this injunction here. But I do think this is NASCAR's Curt Flood moment. And in business, I'm always about fairness. Now, if you're telling me it's a tie, just me personally, I'll probably err on the side of labor. And I know when you say labor, it's the kind of it's millionaires versus billionaires, right? So it's to the average person, the drivers are making millions, the teams are in theory worth millions. NASCAR, it's $1 billion industry. But I don't know. I think just from what I've read and seen, I think NASCAR is going to have to budge a bit eventually. I don't know how much, but I feel like they're going to probably lose. I don't know if it goes to court, but I feel like they're going to have to give up a little bit.
Yeah, no doubt. They're going to have to. There's and it all comes down to a court. It comes down to a judge.
Yeah.
Again, the only flaw in this, and I listened to that lawyer the other day, his whole interview, and he's got a flaw, and his flaw again goes back to our model's not like any other professional sport model.
Mm-hmm.
So, he's basing a lot of what he's thinking and doing off of that. And I get that. So I don't know. I have no friggin' idea. I mean, that's like 25 layers above my expertise, Charlie.
Me too.
So I have no idea what the end result's going to be. But, I just don't want it, man, to distract from what we're doing. I can remember, man, when our sport benefited. I mean, we took a big hit, benefited attendance and popularity in the 90s when MLB went on strike. And I'm of the opinion, Charlie, that there are still to this day ramifications from that strike that still harms the MLB. I mean, we gained fans and followers in our sport when that happened. Baseball people got fed up and got mad, turned it off, and started watching NASCAR. Right? I mean, I relive that. I know about that. It's still vivid in my memory. That's what I think of when I think about what we're getting ready to go through with this deal. All right, we don't, but it's not like a complete strike and shutdown, right? But it still has the negative connotations, and you don't want that. But it's on now, baby. It's on. So it gives us fodder. It's going to give us fodder for a long time to talk about. I will say though, he was questioned hard about the time frame, and he says 1 to 2 years. You don't want to get like the UFC or UCF, or whatever that was. It's 10 years. That deal was going on with that rest of the deal. 10 years. Finally got it settled. Then the judge threw it out. He didn't like the settlement, right? And fighting it for 10 years. But I did like what the lawyer said. 1 to 2 years. 1 to 2 years. This thing will be over with.